Well, I appreciate everybody coming today, and I wanted to talk a little bit about why we're here. You know, today we'll be introducing the Consumer Protection Call Center Act. This will help Ohio call center jobs by creating a disincentive for companies to move these jobs overseas. Some of you may remember a couple of months ago we were standing up here as a Senate Democratic Caucus and House Democratic Caucus, and we rolled out the joint economic package, which focused on creating jobs here in the state of Ohio. Today, this is just a piece of that package. And we're here to add to that same agenda by focusing on this bill to keep jobs here in Ohio. We all know how it is when you're calling in a call center and you get frustrated when you're calling your cable company or you're calling another major company's customer service line and you end up speaking with a worker from another country and you struggle with communications. And we all know how many Ohioans are struggling to find reliable work to help support their family here in this state. We have call centers that are found all across the state of Ohio, including in my district. The AT&T Center operates a center. I think they have approximately 350 jobs up there. And while I'm proud that Ohio has attracted new call centers in recent years, the key is keeping them here during tough times. That's why we're introducing this piece of legislation today. I'm here gathered with my colleagues and friends who will tell you a little bit more about this bill, and then after everybody speaks, we'll be available to answer questions. First, I wanted to introduce Senator Gentile. If you want to come up.
Good morning, Senator Lou Gentile. Great to be here with my colleague, Leader Schiavone. I want to thank him for his efforts and his leadership on this very important issue to keep jobs in Ohio. Representative Antonio and the many workers and leaders from communication workers who have joined us here today, who have helped work with us to bring this forward. As Leader Schiavone pointed out, the main thrust and goal of this legislation, the Consumer Protection Call Center Act of 2016, is to protect Ohio jobs, Ohio workers, and whether it's from the Mahoning Valley to the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Ohio Valley, and everywhere in between, the number one thing that is on Ohioans' minds is the importance of protecting and keeping jobs here in Ohio. And far too many times we've seen in other sectors jobs going to other countries. We think this is one thing we can do as a state to protect Ohio jobs. As well, protect the taxpayers in the state. This legislation would essentially create transparency to ensure that we know what companies are sending jobs overseas, and in the event that they are the recipients of tax incentives and taxpayer dollars, we want to try to prevent companies who are receiving taxpayer dollars from shipping Ohio jobs overseas. And that is, I think, a key component to this legislation. We don't think the taxpayer dollars, grants, or loans should be given to companies that are moving their jobs overseas. So furthermore, if state contracts for call center work, those workers should be in Ohio. This would codify essentially an executive order, I believe Governor Kasich put out there that would say that for state contracts, we want to keep those jobs in Ohio for call center jobs. So I'm proud to join Senator Schiavone, Representative Antonio today in an effort simply to keep jobs in Ohio, to make sure that there's transparency when it comes to jobs that are being sent overseas and what companies are doing that and tracking that, as well to protect the interests of taxpayers to make sure that we're not providing tax incentives to companies that are sending jobs overseas. And we've seen the impact. I want to take this down a level because we've seen the impact to communities, to the workers, to the families throughout the state. I've suffered this in the steel industry in eastern Ohio, where we've lost a lot of jobs, many of which have gone overseas. And you see the impact not only to the workers, their families, but also to the communities that had for a long period of time kept these jobs in those communities and had those jobs. And once they lost them, we saw the devastating impact to the services and to the other businesses and industries. And so we're being proactive here in an effort to get out in front and say that we want to safeguard taxpayer dollars, we want to protect Ohio jobs and Ohio workers, and make sure that we have strong communities. So I want to thank the leader, Representative Antonio, and the communication workers for being here today for offering this legislation in an effort, again, to do the most important thing that we have to do here in the state, and that's to protect jobs and keep them in Ohio. I'll now turn it over to my colleague in the House, who I served with at one point, who I was across the aisle from literally in the Red Tower, Representative Vicki Antoni.
Thank you. I want to thank Senators and Leader Schiavone and Senator Gentile for really providing the leadership for this. I am happy to join them. We will be dropping the bill simultaneously in both the House and the Senate because we know how important it is to keep jobs in Ohio for Ohioans. Now more than ever, it's imperative to protect our homegrown jobs. If passed by the General Assembly, if we pass this bill, what would happen is it would pave the way to economic stability for working families by keeping the call center jobs from being shipped overseas. With the end goal, and I'm being redundant, but it's worth repeating, of keeping Ohio jobs in Ohio, and the people working on those jobs are Ohioans. That is critical for our economic stability, as we've already said, in our communities as well as in our state. This is how we have a strong state and have a strong community. And you know, many of you don't know this, but I can attest to the fact that a job, because it was one of my first jobs while I was working my way through college in a call center for a local newspaper, made all the difference in my being able to raise the funds needed to go to college. These are the kinds of jobs that these are. They pay above minimum wage. Sometimes they're the job that gives somebody a start, but they also, as we all know, are a good job for the people in our communities to be able to take care of their families and actually be a contributing member to the community. And with that, I would like to introduce Frank Matthews from CWA for a few words. Frank?
Hi, I'm Frank Matthews, Administrative Director of the Communication Workers of America, District 4. I'd like to thank Leader Schiavone, Senator Gentile, and Representative Antonio for offering this bill. I'd like to thank my CWA brothers and sisters behind me, and I would like to recognize Bill Bain. He's our Ohio staff rep, and I thank them for being here. Ohio, we have a rich history of being very call center friendly and doing whatever it takes to get call center jobs into Ohio. But as manufacturing jobs have been offshored over the last decade and a half, because of bad trade deals like NAFTA, CAFTA, and the Korean Free Trade Agreement, call centers, because we were call center friendly, have helped lessen that sting when we saw those jobs leave. This is not a union or a non-union issue whatsoever. CWA, we represent 19,500 members in Ohio. We have call centers at AT&T, Frontier Communications, and Cincinnati Bell. We are sometimes able to use contractual or bargaining means to keep or return jobs to Ohio or our district. Across Ohio, however, though, there are over 171,000 call center jobs. Most are non-union. Since 2006, Ohio has lost almost 14,000 of these call center jobs. That's over 7%. While that may seem like a small number, I appreciate this bill because I think it gets Ohio out in front of a curve or a trend we're seeing nationally of call center jobs being moved overseas. I believe we are seeing a movement by some corporations in an effort to chase the lowest labor cost at any cost, even if it means moving jobs outside the United States. Ohio call center workers and consumers are rightfully concerned about offshoring of call center jobs. In this digital world, calls can be rerouted anywhere by the flip of a switch. The cost of American jobs, or this costs American jobs and allows our most private business, health, and financial information to be shared with and possibly accessed by less than secure eyes in another country. While the bill doesn't prevent offshoring, it will attempt to make more transparent those that do, in addition to stopping state loans and grants to companies that do. How is Ohio hurt by the offshoring of call center jobs? The first and most obvious is loss of income and how that devastates families and communities. The second, and just as dangerous, is the range of fraudulent and criminal activity emanating from overseas call centers. Think about this. While we are taught never to give our social security number and bank information to a stranger, many companies we do business with daily have no issues with contracting companies in other countries and handing our most private information over to them. In a 2012 CWA report, Why Shipping Call Center Jobs Overseas Hurts Us Back Home, the key findings include there is a trend for companies to open call centers in India, the Philippines, China, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and the Czech Republic. Numerous instances of scams carried out at foreign call centers targeting customers. A great percentage of call centers in these other countries have admitted to having security breaches. Failure of foreign call centers in providing background checks to their employees. And something I wasn't aware of until I looked this up, every bit of information that one of the companies we do business in here in the country, our information, every bit of business and information that they send overseas, all that information loses its Fourth Amendment rights for protection. So that information can be gleaned without a warrant, without anything. You may think you're sending your health information to a health company, but once they would send that overseas to a call center, all your information loses the Fourth Amendment protections and could lead to a warrantless collection of that data.